The Business Owners Podcast is brought to you by Business, Business, Business and Enever Group with your hosts, Linda Reed-Enever and Clive Enever. In each episode, we talk to other business owners about their experiences, challenges and successes. We'll also share tips and advice on how to grow your business and achieve your goals. If you're a business owner or you're thinking about starting a business, then the Business Owners Podcast is for you.
Hi everyone, I'm Linda Reed-Enever and welcome back to the Business Owners Podcast. Along with Clive Enever, I am your host for the podcast, and we talk with business owners just like you about the world of business and business leaders about the world of business. And the aim of what we do is to make this podcast for you. It's about connection and real life and making sure that we can tell the stories behind some amazing businesses and also get some really good advice for you. Today, I'm being joined by Jane Tweedy. Jane and I have known each other for many years. We both coach, we both consult. We love to see small business owners grow. And today we want to talk about what you need to look at when you're getting advice from people and who we need to listen to and what should we do with all those pieces of advice. Because I know this is a conversation, Jane, I've had a few times over a glass of wine, so it should make a very interesting podcast. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me.
Would you like to tell our audience a little bit about you, what you do?
So I started permanently into small business space about 11 years ago. Well, actually, it might be a little bit longer now. 13 years ago. And it was because my role in corporate came to an end. And I had done some small businesses along the way before that. And I always enjoyed small business, always been entrepreneurial by nature. When I was 5, collected pumice stones off the side of the road and put them on a table and was selling them for 20 cents each. Always had that spirit, right? When my corporate role came to offer redundancy, I was like, yes, please, and they were going, why are you like on cloud 9? Why are you so excited? But at the end of the day, for those of you that are in corporate and you're thinking about going into business, one of the hardest decisions to make is to lose that big salary. And that was a big decision for me. So I did that. And I went into small business because I had that bit of support from the redundancy, which was awesome. Initially, I went into resume writing and it was never intended as a career. And it was a temporary thing to test out marketing while I was becoming a buyer's agent, which was my intention at the time. But along the way, I sort of thought about small business and I thought I actually really like small businesses. And I made a little note, I want to work with small businesses. And what happened? A role came up with a government funded program. And I went, not what I meant. Interesting. So I ended up working for them. And as soon as I started there, I was like, this is my calling. I had that ikigai moment. So for those that have never heard of ikigai, it's a Japanese term, reason for being. Your purpose, what makes you tick. So it's what you can get paid for, important, what the world needs, what you love, and what you're good at. And I just found that intersection there. And that's where I started that small business space. And from there, that led to me starting my own business in coaching and training because I got frustrated by people not implementing things, not actually doing things, or jumping into outsourcing and having no idea how to outsource and getting ripped off. So that was my initial motto in my business, was to help you avoid getting ripped off because of what you don't know.
You've been around since BBB started. We're about to hit our 12th birthday. Yeah, it's getting most probably closer to that 13 years, just to age us both a little bit inside.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I know. That's okay. I have a 16-year-old now. So, it's joys. I know. It's hard in this world. Okay. So one of the things that Jane and I talk about a lot is what happens with the advice you get in business. Because in business owners, we get so much advice. We get so much thrown at us in multiple different directions. Now, it could be from Facebook groups and communities like business. It could be from your friendship groups. It could be from the advisory program that you are in, because there are some advisory programs that people go into. It could be from coaches. It could be from your family and friends. And while all these people have the best intentions, unless we know what we got to do with that advice, unless we know how to disseminate it, how to understand where that person is coming from quite often, then we don't know what we don't know inside this space. And we also then don't know how to handle it. One of the things I talk about quite often with my clients and my people, where they're going, oh, my friend doesn't like this, or my partner doesn't like this, or doesn't like this, or my husband doesn't like this. I'm like, are they your target market? 90% of the time, not. And then, Jane, the other one that I'm going to leave you with before I'm going to get your input on this one is the one of, I wouldn't have done that when I was starting. I wouldn't have done this when I was starting. I wouldn't have done this when. And we're really good at advising ourselves out of what our clients actually need. Because regardless of if you were your ideal client, where you are now and we're looking back, you're looking back at it with rose-colored glasses to what you knew back then.
Yeah.
So what experiences have you had in this advice world that we see clients working with?
Yeah, through that program, which I ended up working with for 10 years and initially an employee role and then moved to a contractor, 2,050 business owners one-on-one. So that's a lot of insights and intel from all these different people. But obviously then there was also my own experiences as well. And some of the key things, yes, you've already touched upon, is the fact that there is so much advice out there. So you just think about it. You open your phone up and all those little notifications. Here's a YouTube video on this. Here's a Facebook post about something really interesting. Here's this guru saying this. Here's this email saying this. And it literally is just cascading on us. And that in itself, usually overwhelming. So we've got to start filtering that out and going, okay, what do we need to take in and what do we need to leave behind? And this is one of the key things I say at the start of every training, as I said, take on board what you need and leave behind what you don't. And then I've had people come back, like I did a workshop earlier this month, and I'd done a similar workshop last year, or earlier this year actually. And one person had been to both, and it was the same topic. But she said that she learned so much more from the second time round because there were things the first time round that she did leave behind because she wasn't ready for them and didn't need those bits at the time. So now she could pick those bits up. Plus there was some new things in there as well. So it's really important to look at what you actually need. So I've coined this phrase, an acronym called MASTER. So I talk about master your business, master your marketing, master your sales. And the master phrase is this: mindset. Because number one, if you don't believe in yourself, no way is anyone else going to believe in you, right? So that's number one. You've got to deal with your mindset first. Then number two is your aim. Okay, what is your purpose or your goal? So this then leads to, which of that marketing advice are you actually going to listen to? Because if you need 4 customers because of the nature of the business you do versus 4,000 customers, completely different marketing strategies. So that's why it's really important to consider your aim before you even start listening to anybody. Then your strategy. What is your strategy going to be? And that's where you might get some of these ideas to go help you with forming that. Then you choose your tactics or your techniques. But of course, most people, they jump straight to tactic. They've missed all the first steps. We know, ends up in disaster. I like to call it a marketing spray and hope that something sticks. So that usually doesn't. The next step is execution. So execution is the actual doing, because if we don't do stuff, nothing's happening. But then the quality of the execution as well. And a lot of people say things like, oh, Facebook ads don't work. They probably do. You probably didn't execute it so well. So that's the quality. And then the last part is the review and reflect. So you've got to look back and go, did that work? Was that right for me? And this is the key. So if you put this master strategy over everything you do, then that makes this question easier to look at. So if I look at somebody's advice and they're saying, be everywhere, but then I look at my aim for my business and I only need 4 clients, do I need to be everywhere? No, of course not. So this is where knowing what we need as a starting point is really important. I also like to use the concept you do unless you doesn't work. Because sometimes you doesn't work. If you're not succeeding in what you're doing and you just can't work it out, then, okay, that's time I actually do need to change. But otherwise, stick to what you know and what you need, because you actually know you better than other people. And one of the things you touched on then was about the fact that the limiting beliefs of the person that you're talking to. And for instance, if you talk to a friend or family member and they've never even been a business owner, how the world are they going to give you really any advice about a business and running a business? Because they don't know. So let's stop listening to those people for a start, park them over here. But when we start listening to the ones that actually count, start listening to whether that advice is helping or hindering you, and start filtering out the people that, you know, are actually not being that helpful. And as we know, there is these things called NLP techniques, neuro-linguistic programming techniques, as opposed to the newer form of NLP to do with AI. So the neuro-linguistic programming is where basically it can be used for good, and we learn it in coaching as a good tactic to use, the things that we say about ourselves. So if we say, I'm useless with technology, it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so we've got to change some of those ways we talk about ourselves. And again, that's that mindset shift. But then you've got the other side of things where it's the way that we listen to these people and think, oh, blindly follow that person. I'm like, yeah, but that person doesn't know you. They don't know your circumstances. And they might tell you, oh, no, that's not possible. And it might be entirely possible with a different mindset, with a different attitude, with a different technique, a different strategy. Stop listening to these people and going blindly, that's what I must do.
100% with you on that one. And I think that's, Jane, you just brought up the point of blindly trusting our information, blindly going through the components that we do. And I've been in business a long time. You've been in business a long time. Clive, my co-host here, has been in business a long time. And the things that we've learned and the foundations, if we go back to the foundations of why I, with a glass of champagne, founded business, was a case of there was a group out there I was particularly part of, and people were complaining that only the same people gave advice. I'm like, okay, cool. If you put your hand up, feel free to go and put your hand up and do that and have those components. So you know what? I'm just going to create a community and a space for me and my favorite business owners to hang out. And now my favorite business owners happen to be 32,500 of them inside that space because we created something that business owners wanted. And that was purely because I did me. I cannot be bothered. This is where we are going to be. This is how we're going to do. And I've listened to that community, and Clive and I have both grown that community, and we've done something. And the key thing that we were talking about then is whether you need 4 clients or you need 4,000 clients. The marketing strategies you're going to hear I come from a marketing point of view here, the marketing strategies, the business growth strategies you're going to hear in the world of social media right now are do everything at once and be everywhere at once. And while I am a great queen for going, if you make a short form video, yeah, put it on all the platforms because you've made it, you might as well get it out there. What I'm also a strategy of, if that bit doesn't work or it doesn't align with you or it doesn't feel right in your gut, you don't have to do it. I was talking with a client the other day, Jane, and you touched on this when you're talking about family and friends. And she was talking about all the families and friends that are inside her life. And I'm like, yeah, cool. What do they do? Oh, they've never run in a business, they've never managed, they've never done anything like this. And I'm like, cool. So they've got an employee mindset, which is great because we need them. We need people who have an employee mindset and want to be out there and be an employee. But a business owner, we're an own breed of crazy that's prepared to go out there and take a risk.
Totally agree with the crazy comment, but yeah.
We're our own breed of crazy that's prepared to go out there and take a risk. And by being that breed of crazy means that we've got that level of risk taking and those sorts of things where we need to find our community. And I suppose that's, Jane, that's where you and I came together. You became part of the BBB community when we first started. We've sat with our guidelines. We've sat with those rules. We've sat with those community for almost the 12 years that we've been running. Nothing's really ever changed. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
We've rode the meta waves of what riding a community is like and what we can and can't say, and the Australian media law changes and all of those sorts of things inside that time. But the advice that is shared, and I will say that you can go to a community like ours and ask for advice, but then you've got to know how to filter it. So I'm going to throw that one to you for a moment, Jen. How would you filter advice that you get through a Facebook group?
So whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's AI, whether it's people around you, doesn't really matter what the source is, but just consider the fact that they do not know you and your circumstances. If it's some rando, giving you advice, or it's ChatGPT randomly giving you something, right?
Oh, and throwing the YouTube videos and the Facebook chat and the articles and all of that sort of stuff. Does not know your circumstances.
They know nothing about you, right? So they're just giving you a spray and pray thing and hope that because of their targeting and things like that, that their stuff has landed on you. And they hope that you therefore maybe are the right type of people to hear the message, but you're not always the right type of person to hear the message. And so sometimes you can look at something and go, interesting, or, oh, that could be cool. It does not mean you have to do it today. It does not mean that it suddenly takes over everything else you're doing and going, I must start the new social media channel because I must do this today. And I'm like, yeah, didn't you have 50 other things you needed to do? And as Linda just pointed out, part of the issue with entrepreneurs is that we tend to have an entrepreneurial mindset, which is the way that we think. And that's a good thing because it helps us absolutely in being an entrepreneur. We are typically more risk takers. We're more experimental. We're more prepared to throw ourselves into things. But that also causes issues. And Linda said, having those employee types that will come in and sequentially do something and follow the rules and do that stuff. Yeah, we might not like that, but we actually need that to get things done. So it's actually good to complement us with that. But the problem with this entrepreneurial mindset is it kind of also really heavily ties with ADHD. And both Linda and I know that get late in life ADHD diagnoses. And part of the reason with me knowing that I had ADHD, which got diagnosed officially 6 months ago, was because of the fact that I was working with all these other business owners that clearly also had ADHD. So part of me resisted it because I'd go, look, is this just a label? The label from the employee mentality saying the entrepreneurial mentality, they're labeling us with something. So they give themselves that comfort factor. And I think to an element, there is some people that fall in that category where they don't really have the chemical imbalance and all this stuff and the dopamine missing.
Yep.
There's potentially those, right? But there is a lot of people that do have ADHD and go back to your childhood and yep, all the signs were there. We just didn't know what to look out for because we weren't the disruptive in class people. We were high performing at school, but we were doing it because we put so much energy and effort into masking it. And then we get out of that ability to mask for whatever reason. It could be perimenopause or menopause or whatever for women, but it can also be, in my case, it was 3.5 years of long COVID. And then those two kind of clashed together and then voila, I lost my ability to mask. I lost my ability to cover it up. And that led to this whole ADHD thing. But either way, whether it's ADHD, whether it's that entrepreneurial mindset, it means we are prepared to give things a go, but we've also got to be careful to actually do the do. Because if we don't execute, like I said before, nothing is going to happen.
And I have it. I work with clients every day and they're like, yeah, cool, I was going to do that bit. And I'm like, yeah, but if you don't do that bit, we can't do the bit for you.
No.
You can hire the best marketing strategists in the world, the best agency, but if you don't do the client knowledge bit, we can't do the rest of it for you.
Yes,
And
we've got to
people are-
understand our clients, right? And so we as coaches have to understand our clients, but you as the business owner need to understand your clients. And so many people skip that step. It's just seen as that kind of, yeah, well, I've been told about that, but I don't really care, or I don't need to know about niches and things. And I think part of it is because, again, the misleading advice that was put out there, particularly pre-COVID, where people went, you've got a niche. And so you got to the point where there's somebody that's a copywriter or a writer that's writing for the travel industry in 2019, right? That's their niche. What happens in 2020? Oh dear, that niche is gone. There is literally not a single person left in that niche. So then what do? You're stuck with that, oh God, I've got to start with finding a new audience again, finding that new niche. So I've always believed in understanding the niche, but you don't have to have one. You know, it's easier to start with one or two, but you can have as many as you want, as long as you can clearly articulate to each person how you're going to help them and how you're going to solve their problems, and that you have whatever they need to help them.
Absolutely. And guys, you hear me say in my talk podcast, in my videos and all that sort of stuff, my niche isn't an industry. My niche isn't a area. My niche is actually a mindset. I want a business owner who wants to do something.
Growing business
to do something. I don't want to be working with you.
Yeah, and that's why I added into my mission over time was that action-taking business owner who wants to do the right thing, okay? Because that covers 2 points. One is action-taking. If they don't want to take action, they're wasting my time and wasting theirs because they'll just never do anything. Yeah, and there's no help for them until they're ready to be helped. And I have had people come back 5 years later that didn't want to know at the start. They didn't want to take the actions. And then 5 years later, they now are ready. It can be that long. And it's that's fine.
I had clients in the same boat. We've had people throughout their journey not ready.
Yeah. And we can't push them to be ready. Some people can improve their accountability and things by having that nudge or that push. But if someone really doesn't want to do it, just leave them to their own devices and go, cool. Much easier, of course, for all of us to get clients that actually want to do or buy, or it's so much easier. Why are we trying to shove things down someone's throat? Because we know that we could help them, but they're not ready for that. Leave them be.
I talk about marketing, or I talk about offerings as putting trees, and we're actually in the process of finishing the book, which hopefully as we go live with this podcast might be somewhere near pre-order when we go live. But the process I talk about is allowing your people to climb to the branch that they are most comfortable on. Okay. So we don't have to, and for those of you who can see the tree behind me here, we've even got the tree. allowing us to have offerings that sit within different levels
Correct.
and allowing them to be able to come. Now, that doesn't mean we don't refine those levels. We don't get feedback. We don't get advice. We don't do all of those sorts of things, but we go, okay, cool. Branch number 1. Now, someone might be at branch number 1 for the first 5 to 6 years of their business. And then all of a sudden go, branch 10 looks amazing. I want up there. And they go, come on, back to the trunk of the tree. And they climb up to branch 10. There'll be other people that will take a branch each year and go, okay, we're going up that next branch, or they're going up every 6 months and they're going through that journey. And I think the thing as business owners for us to think about inside that space is when we're getting that advice, when we're hearing that feedback, when you're getting the no from a client, and no from a client is not a bad thing. A potential client saying, no, I'm not ready for this, or no, I'm not the right fit. It's great. Cool. I'll move on to the next one. I'll go to the next conversation. Getting the advice from someone, and this is going to be the advice that I talk about from a reviews point of view. When we get advice from a review or someone saying feedback about this is not for me, I'm like, okay, great. Don't take that to heart and change your whole business offering because someone said it's not for them. You've got to go back and go, where was my messaging? And I'm going to say, this is really horrible right now to say to a business owner who's going to be in this situation, where did my messaging go wrong, or where did my activity go wrong that I landed myself in front of the person who wasn't actually ready for me, pinning my hopes on that deal? Because the reality of it is there is a stage somewhere along the line that we put ourselves in that position. And I am not going to be pretending naive that we don't do that as coaches today, because we still do. We go, oh, we can really help this person, so we want to help them. And then we cut off our right arm and we go, here, have that arm.
Yeah. And usually what we do in that situation, though, is we've crossed our boundaries as well.
Exactly.
And we go above and beyond what is needed. And the end of the day, they won't appreciate it because they're not there. Like you say, they're on a lower branch and you're actually tackling them at the higher branch.
Yep.
You can't do that. You've got to tackle them where they're at. And tackle is a terrible word, but you've got to be with them where they're at and support them there, not support them where they want to be. But you've also got to give them the freedom, like you say, that they might sit at 1 for 5 years, but then suddenly jump to 10. That's okay. And we just need to go, that's okay. That's where they've chosen to go through. Sometimes we need to just quickly revisit them back and go, wait a minute, what did you skip on the levels in between?
Yep.
Because, for instance, they might not understand their customer base. Okay, if we really want our marketing to work, then we really need to go back to that and revisit it. So there is that element of maybe moving them up and down through that a little bit, but don't be afraid to let them jump to the end if that's what they absolutely want to do, with some caveats.
Because those clients who are going to jump to the end and go, all right, cool, I want the one-on-one offering, or I want the top level offering, they're prepared to do the work with you. So they're prepared to go back down those branches and go through that process, and they're prepared to do that work with you. And I think that's, I want to use a personal scenario here just to let everyone, because I figure we might as well teach them what we know, Jane, because hey, we go through this on a regular basis. Earlier this year, I decided we moved to a new area. I want to run a Get It Done program, which is co-working for everyone to get it done, all of those areas, which is great. And what happened was, it was great. Everyone's coming to a room, they're getting it done together. We're fantastic. It's great. And I was meant to be getting things done, which I wasn't.
Yes.
Coaching me, started to coach. And I'm like, then I get a tap from accounts going, that's not enough to charge to be coaching people while you're there. And I go, good, that's why you're here. You're meant to remind me of those sorts of things. So then we offered a program development. Like, it's developed itself organically as we've gone. And yes, this is a crazy business mindset, because I went, cool, I can do that. I can put that together. And in that process, what we did was we developed a VIP table that was able to sit with me, ask me questions, do everything else. Going into 2026, it will only be offered as a VIP table. So if you want to come and get it done, you're coming and you're sitting down and you're sitting at the table, and we've got less numbers. We're having to attract less people, makes it more profitable for us as a business. Like that, we'll be really honest, because we're not having to do as much time to fill it. And that program developed because I knew the client I was working with. And as I started to work out and listen to the client that is turning up to this event, I'm going, right, okay, why I thought they could do this self-directed, they don't want to.
Right.
They want to do it with a little bit more help and a little bit more area. So from my boundaries point of view, I then had to go, hang on, where is the difference between my top paying clients, my members, and my general everyday students, to where do I put this offering within the place?
Right.
And that's all about boundaries, guys, but it's all about allowing them to climb my little gum tree, so that if they do want to do a one-on-one strategy day with me, they're up the top, eating the gum leaves at the top, getting drunk like koalas do, because they're getting the best stuff. But if they're doing that, I turn my phone off. I'm not available to anyone when I'm in that environment. One-on-one, I am high priced at one-on-one components, but that's because you get my whole time, you get 21 years of experience inside that space. But those boundaries of knowing what, and I see this with course creators and coaches all the time, and I'm sure you do too with business owners, knowing what each service level gets. I see so many people going to course creation as I'm a Thinkific approved expert. I go through that regularly. See so many people going to course creation, they go, great, going to give everyone everything in my first course. I'm like, cool, but what if you wanted to offer a membership down the track? What the hell are you going to give your members? Because you're leaving yourself nowhere to go.
You've thrown out the baby with the bathwater. You put everything in it and there's nothing left. The kitchen sink's in there. What are you going to give them now?
And then you're exhausted.
Yep. For a pittance.
Yes, absolutely. Do not serve your students at the same level you would serve your clients.
Yeah. And that's where it is really tricky. I agree with you. I think it's one of those things because especially if you've got that nature of wanting to serve people and wanting to help people, which let's face it, a lot of coaches and things definitely have, it becomes that element of we're always trying to give them so much, but sometimes we're to pull it back and go, no, I've actually given them a lot. And then sometimes we suffer because of it. I had a conference that I was meant to speak at, and unfortunately I got laryngitis. Of course, it was a conference. I was speaking at 2 sessions. It was literally 2 days before I was flying out on holiday to a destination with no Wi-Fi and that. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because I said, look, I'll record this session to give it to you. So what did I give her? Instead of 2 25-minute sessions plus 5 minutes Q&A, what did I give her instead? I gave her a bonus session she could deliver herself about turning learnings into actions. So I created that on the spot, sent that through to her. I then suggested what she could do for the other one, a networking exercise. Then I recorded these 2 videos, but they were no longer 25 minutes. One was double that, and one was 3 times that, because I felt like I had to give so much more value because I had not delivered. But then, of course, what happens, I see, because they were unlisted YouTube videos, I can see how many people looked at them. And I went, why did I spend my time and effort doing that? And the thing is, there was no expectation for me to deliver that extra stuff, but I felt that pressure to do it. And that is something we've got to really rein in and really check in. And that's what you were obviously doing on those, the Get It Done days as well. Same thing. You were giving so much that you start realizing, yeah, wait a minute here. They're not going to book for a one-on-one. They basically got a one-on-one at their cheap day they went to.
Yeah, exactly. And did you hear, guys, I'm pretty sure Jane knows what I'm about to say, but you heard Jane there letting her own internal feedback machine give her the wrong advice that I
100%.
can't do this, so therefore I can't do it the way I wanted to, so therefore I'm going to over-deliver inside that area. And our internal advice systems are so good at that.
They're toxic little beasts.
They're really good at going, but no, but what, but I'm not good enough, but I'm not. And that's that change that we have to consistently make. I can't do this. And if Jane and I are really honest, we've tried to record this podcast twice before we got here. One, you had laryngitis. The next time there was something going on in my world and we needed to change the podcast. And all of these things that pop up, but they pop up for a reason. Yeah. And they pop up normally because we need to take a break. Jane, the things I want to run through now, we've spoken about Facebook groups, we've spoken about all of those areas. There are some key things that I think we should talk about when we get advice. And I suppose the first one I'm going to say to everyone is look at who we're getting our advice from.
Yes.
Are they our target market? Will they ever be our target market? And if we're getting advice about how to run our business, do they run a business? They don't need to run a business in your niche. They don't need to run a business in your industry, but do they run a business? If we're getting financial advice, please make sure the person is qualified as the legal advice. These are key things within our business. From a branding point of view, I always say as a marketer, feel free to poll your audience on what logos and what colors you think you should have, but they should never be the final decisions when it comes to branding your business.
But it's funny though, they're always the ones that get great take up on one of the big Facebook groups. That's when people put logo choices up. And some of them are purely doing it for the reach that they get because people love to have a say.
It's engaging social media content. Let's not be wrong.
Yes, but don't do it because you actually want the feedback properly. It's more about, like you say, getting visibility and reach. And it definitely works in that way. But those advice, like we said, the people in the groups just recognize their randoms and we may or may not have things that we don't understand about them. But for instance, like Linda said, we've known each other for 10, 12 years. And therefore I know what Linda's good at. I know what Linda's focus is. I know who her audience is. And so I can go, cool. I can take on what Linda says and go, oh, yep, that sounds really good. Sounds really interesting. I'm going to take that on board. Whereas somebody else, I might go, never even heard of this person. Take it with a bit of a grain of salt. So there is that element. But what is actually most disturbing is not even just that kind of random advice and noise, but we go, right, I need help with search engine optimization. And I do quite a bit of work in this space very successfully. So I know a bit about it, right? And what I find incredibly frustrating is the amount of people that are happy to fork out $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month to someone they've never heard of. They have not done any due diligence on what that person has done for other businesses. They just literally go into it blindly because they believe it's a black box. They believe the secret world out there of SEO. The reality is it's not that at all. It's actually really basic. That it's that Pareto principle, right? 20% of the actions you do will create 80% of your results. So I teach people that 20%. I don't care about the rest of the 80 because you really only need that 80% of a result. And what I find when I do that is that people are getting really good results. They're full their books, which is awesome, but they're not paying thousands of dollars a month. There is no need for that because
100%.
the strategies they're using. One website I looked at just a couple of days ago while I was doing something else, 54,000 backlinks. Like, why would you need 54,000 backlinks? You're a company in Australia providing a in-person service in Australia, and yet you've got all these backlinks on Indian websites, Chinese websites, all these foreign language ones, which I have no idea what they even are. And I'm like, really?
From
Are
a
they
business owner's
helpful?
point of view, I'm going to say to you, if you can't read the language of the website's backlinking to you in, you don't want to be dealing with it.
Unless you actually service that country. So I look at
100%.
all that stuff and go, come on, people, it's not that silly. Are you going to go to a doctor or something you've never heard of? Yeah, probably you are, because you just put them on a pedestal.
But due diligence is key here.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the guidelines, and you know it, that we say in BBB, all advice given in here is general. Please do your due diligence. I'm not getting you to get in the middle of a member fight because you didn't do your research and that sort of stuff.
Right.
I think I remember having a conversation with you at some stage when we were about 10,000 members, and someone said, what if you just did a 5-minute call with everyone to verify whether they were a legitimate person to be inside the group? And I'm like, what do you think I do with my day?
Now you'd probably use an AI bot to do it for you, but oh my gosh, no, completely impractical. And that's the thing, right? Some people have good intentions, but they have no ability of quantifying what that would actually mean. And therefore, it might sound good in their own minds. Or what I find frustrating is I have a group that Facebook actually asked me to take over, which was a local business public group that had advertising on it, full of porn. I literally had to remove hundreds of porn posts. It was, real fun. But now what's happened is that this group, I put rules in it. And people get grumpy, and I say, stop over posting in these groups, because in our one, I give them the ability to post twice, but I say they have to be 2 different posts if you're going to post twice in a week. And people get grumpy about that, or they literally are posting every day or every few hours. And I'm like, think about it, people. If there are 7,000 people in this group, and let's say 5,000 of them are active business owners that want to promote their businesses, 5,000, if they were doing 5 posts a week, Monday to Friday, 25,000 posts.
No one's ever going to see it all.
No, it's actually Facebook then goes, cut. So instead, put your good stuff in there when you need to, but not all the freaking time, every day, the same post.
So Jane knows the rules in BBB. We've always been this. If you want to promote your business, you must have joined in group conversations every single day. So today is Friday. If anyone's thinking that they can't join in, please go and share your favorite book, podcast, or whatever on the Friday thread. Like, it's not that hard to comment and be involved in our group, or share your yay, or share your goal when we go through it, because there's plenty of opportunities to share what you're going to do. Social media and the feedback you're going to get on social media will come back to what you do. Don't promote myself a huge amount in Facebook groups. I tend to answer questions. I give advice. I'm like, hey, you should have a look at this or try that. And in the end, the clients come my way through education, and I'm pretty happy with that. But if you want to get something from social media, and I'm battling this battle at the moment with a few people, I just want to post. I'm like, it's not an ad platform. It's a two-way street.
It's a social platform. We're meant to be socializing.
Yep. Everything inside social media is a two-way street. So make sure that you are providing. And I have so many people say to us, especially in the time we've run BBB, is I don't know what to say. I'm like, I don't know what to provide. Maybe just give someone a pat in the back when they share a yay post, or just engage, or just go, oh my God, this happened at work today. How would you deal with this? Share what business life is like. It's not actually the perfect post. And the one thing I will say, coming out in the world from marketing and from social media and all the stuff we're about to talk about now, and AI components and getting your feedback from AI. Oh, don't stop me. Like, I teach AI. Don't get me wrong. I teach it.
Yeah, and we need to learn it.
And I know we need to learn it. I know we need to do it, but we can't put the trust in it. I had a campaign put in front of me the other day that I could clearly see and come out of AI. And the feedback was, will you use it? I'm like, yeah, but mine is trained within a heartbeat of its life to deliver the campaigns that it delivers. And I said, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Why did you even put this in front of me and waste your time with the money that you pay me to look at this when you haven't actually taken the bits out that you don't want to do?
No, it's crazy. And I say to people, they say, oh, it doesn't sound like me. And it's because you haven't trained it. You haven't communicated with it. And again, it goes back to the advice thing. If the person doesn't know you, they can't help you. Hello, if ChatGPT doesn't know you or other AI tool doesn't know you, it can't help you. Hello, people. It's simple.
If you take nothing else from this podcast, train your ChatGPT, train your Gemini, train your Claude like you would train a staff member.
Absolutely. The more that you give them, the more that they understand you, your values, where you're coming from, your point of view, your points of difference, the more it's going to help you. Now, mine knows me so freaking well. It kind of at times drives me out the wall because it'll say things like a whole brain thinking sense. The A would do this, the B would do this. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I ask you for whole brain thinking? I don't need it for that. And sometimes you do have to contain it in. But even the other day, I asked it if I needed to add solar panels onto my home insurance. Did I need to tell my insurer about that? And it said, as a business coach, you want to let your clients know that they might have this issue as well. And it was like, it wouldn't do that if it just didn't know me so well. And so it knows that I like to help people, that I like to put out content and things. So it's giving me that tip and going, hey, this is actually a bit of content you could put out. Right.
Nice. Awesome. But once again, take your advice. I did something in chat yesterday, which should have been easy, and it should have been 100% easy to do. Please give me the dates for 2026. It's every second Wednesday of this. And it was a day out.
Oh.
But how many people would have gone, okay, this is what it's good at. It should be able to do it. Now, every AI tool says we can make mistakes. Please check. And it was a day out consistently. So it was like, and I know why it was a day out.
Leap year? No, not leap year.
No, because where's the data coming from? The data's coming from US. Every Wednesday in the US is that date.
Yes, time zone issues.
It's a time zone issue. It's all of those sorts of things. And I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. I get where we're coming from. Yes, we're in the future inside that space.
Yeah, I get that too.
So we've spoken about AI. We've spoken about randoms. We've spoken about family and friends. Okay, I want to talk about, before we wrap up this podcast, about getting advice, about finding the advisors that you want to work with, whether it's coaches, whether it's financial people, whether it's legal people. And I am a big believer in this coaching space that if you're not prepared to give a 15-minute discovery call so someone can actually work out if they like you or don't like you, then you're not serving your people in the right way.
No.
And that 15-minute discovery call is as equally important for you and I to go, 100%. Do I like them enough to want to work with them? As everything else inside that space. So when you're going through and you're doing your advisors, whether you like Jane and I at the end of this podcast, I'd still want you to go look at our YouTube channels, look at our social media, look at the stuff and go, do I like them? I'm going to talk fast at you the whole time. I don't care. It is who I am. I've been doing it for a long time. I don't talk any faster than JFK, but if you don't like that about me, that is not going to change in a coaching environment because I'm going to get excited about your project and I'm going to speed up.
It's funny how that little accelerator starts going, isn't it, when you get excited? Yeah, that's another ADHD's entrepreneurial trait.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm doing my assessment, okay? You leave me alone. Sarah, I'm going to fit into that call. No, I haven't got there yet.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I'm joking. This is a conversation. Yeah. We tend to hang out with people who are similar to us. Yeah. Okay, so when we go and hire a coach or advisor or that sort of stuff, we aren't looking for someone who is us. We're looking for someone who's going to challenge us or stretch us out to the next area. Because Jane and I would be in a coaching session together talking for ages about the stuff that we randomly wanted to talk about for that day. And neither of us would push each other in the direction where we needed to go because we'll go, no, this is cool. We're just going to agree with each other because we have very similar philosophies. We need the coach who's going to push us that little bit further and then explain the why. Or you need the advisor or the lawyer or you heard me say before, my accounts team tapped me on the shoulder and said I wasn't making money. They need to tap me on the shoulder. That's their job.
And make sure it is their job because you can hire accountants that purely do your year-end tax return and they won't give you any advice. In fact, Certain one I know, they literally give you the wrong information. It might as well have come out of ChatGPT because it's just made up half of it. And he asked people to sign it without even seeing it. And I'm like, no, can you please send me, what you're asking us to sign? And I look at it and just go, oh my God, this is wrong. And it's shockingly bad. So one thing I just want to really make you understand is do not put anybody on a pedestal, whether it's a medical professional, an accountant, a lawyer, whatever. Just because they have those badges does not make them good. It really doesn't.
No.
And I think COVID really showed how bad some of the accountants were. They were shockingly bad, and there were some really good ones. Okay. And it's about understanding that and going, just because they have a label does not mean that automatically makes them good. So make sure
that
you
in every profession, guys.
100%.
Every profession.
100%. So do your due diligence. Doesn't matter what service you're getting, do your due diligence. And even simple things. Oh my gosh, I mentioned this Facebook group before. So one of the checks I do is they come in, they have to have an ABN, registered business name, because I want to make sure that people can actually work out who these people are if something goes wrong. The amount of people that don't have one or both of those, seriously, is unreal. And yet so many people blindly just go and buy off these people. I'm like, okay, if something goes wrong and it's XYZ business, how the world are you going to track that person down to be able to lodge a complaint or do anything about it? You can't. Okay, so basics, ABN, business name, do they exist? Who's behind it? Do they have the ability to talk about what you're talking about? Do they have a qualification if it's something like accounting? Are they a BAS agent or a tax agent? Hello, if they're not, they shouldn't be running a bookkeeping service to randoms. It's not how it works. So all those things are there, but also ask them for clients that they've got, ask them for the type of people they work with. Because as we said, different people have different needs, and therefore make sure that they suit your needs. Just because they're great for a friend of yours who's a medium-sized business that they like to work with, if you're a startup sole trader that needs hand-holding, that ain't probably your accountant. So, make sure it's horses for courses. Make sure, again, you've gone back to that whole master your business kind of thing, okay? Mindset, okay, I know that these people are not just automatically gurus. I need to check them. So that's first. Secondly, your aim and your strategy. What do I actually want this person to do? And how am I actually going to go about it? I'm going to check the basics like ABNs and registrations and things. I'm going to check who they've worked with before. I'm going to check that they actually are in little things like that. Sort of seem obvious, but apparently a lot of people don't check. So we check all that stuff out before we hire them. And for something like, say, SEO, do some basic training first. Please, I beg of you, know some basics, because otherwise they will go, oh, we're going to do 50 actions a month for you. And you go, yes, that sounds amazing. Not realizing they're putting you on 50 dodgy websites in China. Hello, that's not going to help you. And you've just forked out $2,000 for that. Stop it, stop it, stop it. So it doesn't matter, like Linda said, what industry it is. There's clowns, there's dodgy cowboys in every single industry. Okay. So make sure you don't get caught out. Just go in with your little skepticism hat on there a little bit. And that's where sometimes we've got to slow down to speed up. Okay. So some of us look always at the good in things. Some of us always look at the bad. And sometimes we need to switch that role. Look at the dreamer if you're only looking at the negatives, but also look at the critic if you're only looking at the positives. And make sure you've got into it some sort of balance and gone, cool. Now the realist in me goes, okay, I've found what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And that's key. Absolute key.
100%. Jane, it has been a pleasure having a conversation with you in the Business Owners Podcast. And we are really excited to be bringing the Business Owners Podcast through 2026 and through amazing stories. It has been also an honor to have you as part of our community for pretty much the whole time we've been running it. And you'll see Jane most probably pop up within our group more regularly. It is nice to see you back as well. I know you did have that big long COVID journey. We both seemed to have for a little while there, which was fun and games. And it was wonderful. Now, guys, a couple of things I just want to leave you with in today's podcast is, one, if you like the podcast, you see what's happening here, you like the information, please subscribe. 2, due diligence even on us. Make sure that we are the right people that want to work for you, but also any other inquiries that you do have. And number 3 is to please ask questions. We will happily answer them, either here or in the business community, where you can get to know and trust some of the people around you. And that's not just a series of buzzwords. It is a series of everything else. And for everything that you can do, find your people, because in the end, your people are what make it a success. My people in my team, my people in my advisors, and believe me, coaches do have coaches, what allow me to be able to do things and have allowed me to grow within the period in time. So I'm so excited to have had Jane on the podcast today. And I'm so excited to see her coming in and answering questions for everyone in the group. Jane, where can our members find you?
So faqbusinesstraining.com.au is the website. I also have another version, which is my online training, which at the moment is moving. So we'll leave that off the table just for now, but you'll be able to find that on the main website. And then I also am big on LinkedIn. Look for Jane Tweedy, Tweedy on LinkedIn. And also on Facebook, you will find me in BBB, or you will find me under FAQ Business Training in Facebook. They're my main areas because, like we said, you can be everywhere, but you don't have to be everywhere, or at FAQ Business Training on YouTube.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, thank you. It's another one. We have real stories like this every time when we jump into the podcast. Clive and I are co-hosting. We bring amazing guests to you. And once again, if you've liked it, let us know, because we can go and get more podcast guests like this for you, and we can have more of those conversations. Until next time, I'm Linda Reed-Enever. I help you create impact by teaching you what I do. And I've been joined by the wonderful Jane Tweedy, who helps you master your business.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Business Owners Podcast. We encourage you to connect with us on social media and join our community of business owners at businessbusinessbusiness.com.au.